Hi everyone, it's Jan, and by a show of hands, how many of you still have at least one Christmas card left to make? I know I do. So here's an idea that maybe will put a little fun in those last minute projects that you need to get done. I am using some things that you've probably seen me use on other cards, but I'm going to show you some techniques of ways you can use them differently. I love this Joy die cut. I'm actually making a little stencil out of it, and Joy just kind of seems to be crying out for there to be an O, the O being a world, so I'm going to do something with that. I'm going to work with this Donna Salazar mixed media ink. It's very thick, but great for doing this kind of stenciling project with. And I'm going to make a little background with some pan pastels and an embossing plate. Okay, so to begin with, let's just go ahead and get the world done here. I'm using some VersaFine ink, and I love how very, very rich, deep black it is, and it's great for embossing with clear embossing powder. You know, I think when you're going to be watercoloring or anything over something that's embossed, I actually like using clear embossing rather than the black embossing powder. So I've done that, and I'm going to start by putting a little peeled paint out here on my craft mat, and I'm just going to kind of water it down and paint in the continents. And honestly, there's very little actual land area. There's a lot of embossing, but just kind of get the paint in the general area and then go back and maybe do a second little layer to give it a little depth of color. Quick. And I am using this Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist because it's going to make it shimmery, and what Christmas card doesn't need to be shimmery. And since we're doing bokeh, which is kind of a reflective lens technique in photography, we're going to kind of be doing my fake bokeh. I thought it'd be nice to have a little shimmer on the world. And the other reason that I'm really enjoying doing the world as a separate little piece here is that because the bokeh, those lens flare kinds of things, it's a lighting thing you do with a camera lens, but they're all round, and I felt like actually emphasizing the O in Joy would kind of be a great way to make this whole card with lots of different products come together. Okay, so I've impressed this very fine stripe onto some very heavy cardstock, like 120, 140 pound cardstock. You want it to really stand up. And I'm using pan pastels just to create kind of a soft background. This bokeh technique that I'm going to show you, I think actually works better with a media on top of other media. So I'm making the background out of the pan pastels, and then I'm sealing it with some fixative because it is pastel, it would rub off. So now I'm going to place the world, and if I just use the die cut in this little clear piece of plastic the way that it is, the J and the Y are a little too close to each other, so I'm just going to inch them over. And I'm doing that by figuring out where I want the world on this piece, and then I'm moving the J over, and I'm marking a couple of little circles so that I can line that back up when I go to put the ink on it, and then I'm figuring out where I want the Y to be and marking that. And this is a little template or stencil that I can use for other things too. The die was really created to cut out and put something behind it, but you know I love when we can kind of create something and use it for something else. Double duty. It's always good to have tools that do double duty. I'm going to mask off the O because this ink is very, very, very thick and very sticky, and I don't want to accidentally pounce it in through one of those holes that I didn't intend. But you can see it's so thick and it's so juicy, and it so stands up to being pushed through that template there, or that stencil. And I'm going to line up. Fortunately, I made those little marks over there, and I'm going to cover up so I don't put any more sticky ink anywhere on there. And I just love this. Now, I will say, because I use the fixative, that at first I tried just drying it with the heat gun. Didn't really want to dry. So I don't think I'm going to show you here, but I went and put some embossing powder, clear embossing powder, heated up, and now everything is good to go. And I'm loving how it looks. It's just a really nice soft background. Here's how I made my bokeh stencil. I took another piece of that plastic, and I took varying sizes from little tiny hole punches that I made kind of in a little grouping, to going up to about a 3/4 of an inch punch. And then I'm just over here testing out, and here's what I discovered. You want to take something, and you see that I'm actually using a little test piece here that I have the pan pastels on, because you want to see how your different kinds of inks are going to line up with each other. And here's what I discovered, is that you want to start with kind of your midtones. Now you'll notice I've got a blue, kind of a purplish, and I've got the white over here. But so you kind of got a dark, medium, and light, but you're going to use those values in dark, medium, and light for each of those. And I found that if you start with your medium darkness, where I'm not putting it on just as dark as can be, that if you start with those midtones, even using the white kind of as that midtone, where you're putting a little bit more ink than it just helps you get the balance. So use all three of your colors, but do them in that midtone. Then you want to go in and you want to add your lights in, the lightest lights that you're going to do. You can see I'm kind of putting my mid-tone whites in there. And now I'm getting this particular blue, it's still going to be one of those midtones, but you want to vary your sizes. You want to vary how intense the ink is showing up, and you just keep moving back and forth between those. I also found that having those little dots actually make it fills in without being too much. And yes, I am going ahead and working on, I'm putting those darks in there now. You see, we thought we were doing darks until you see this, right? Well, you want to just keep working with it, going back and forth until you feel like you've got a good balance between all of them. But it's very easy and very quick. I went ahead and added a black mask to it because the J and the Y are very black against this really kind of soft background, so that kind of makes everything balanced. And then I'm going to pop up my world. If you're wondering, that world was a stamp from, I believe it's called Destinations. It's a paper tray ink world that I just kind of figure out what circle die I had that it would fit inside of. Put a little holly and some little red stickles, berries, and there we have it. But no, I'm just going to go all out on this one. I decided to take some clear sequins. They're a little iridescent, and I have them in a couple of sizes, and I felt like that added that last little bit of reflective circle to it. So everything on here is a circle. Even the J and the Y are made up of circles. And I just think it kind of all works together. So there's a joyful card for you. Easy to make. That bokeh background you could use, I think it'd be great for birthdays too. I will probably be back with at least one more Christmas project, but in case I don't see you between now and Christmas, I hope you have a very blessed Christmas and a happy New Year. I have some great things planned for us for the next year, and be sure and check out the UCAN classroom because I've got some new classes coming up really soon. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. That's the best way to find out when I post new videos. And be sure and follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and Twitter because that's a great place for us to have some interaction. Guys, I sure appreciate you. I am so glad that I get to spend time creatively with you several times each month. And at the end of this year, I am very, very, very grateful for your friendship and for the fact that you choose to spend time with me. Y'all take care. I'll be back real soon. And be sure and save some time for creative play.